How's it going, everybody? So the first video I ever uploaded on YouTube was a ranking of every DCU project that was in development, and I ranked them based on how excited I was to see them. And in first place was the project I was most excited to see. That video got over 60,000 views as my first video ever uploaded, and instead of ranking 14 projects like I did last time, I will be ranking 20 this time, and they won't just be including DCU projects. So I have a couple projects in here that are not DCU related. I did not rank the Keanu Reeves John Constantine sequel because I honestly don't think it's going to come out. And I also did not include the Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman movie because I'm not really sure that that's going to come out either. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm not even sure if some of these DCU projects are going to come out, but until there's an official cancellation notice on them, I just decided to rank them. So without further ado, let's just jump into my ranking of the upcoming DC Studios projects ranked from least excited to most excited. So starting off the list, down here at number 20, we have the Jurassic League. This is rumored to be an animated movie and was confirmed by Hollywood Trades in February of 2024. Essentially, it's an alternate universe where the Justice League are a bunch of dinosaurs. From what I've read, it's a fun comic book, but I never could get into it. There are quite a few people online that do love this comic book though. The reason I have this so low is that while I do think it's fun to take big risks, I think this is too big of a risk. I don't know if anybody was asking for or is excited for a Jurassic League movie. The only way I see this working is if it's extremely marketed towards kids, so this would have been my jam. However, as of now, I'm just not very excited to watch a movie about dinosaur superheroes. I could be wrong and this might end up being really good somehow, but as of now, I just don't see it. We've also heard absolutely nothing about this movie since it was confirmed by Hollywood Trades, so I honestly have my questions about whether or not it will ever come out, to be honest. But yeah, I think for obvious reasons, I have Jurassic League all the way down at number 20. Next up at number 19, I have our first DCU project, and that is the Sergeant Rock movie. So this to me was one of the most baffling decisions for James Gunn to confirm as a DCU project. I have never read Sergeant Rock comic books, and I honestly know very little about the character, which I guess is part of the reason I have no excitement for this project at all. Sergeant Rock is a World War II soldier who led the army group Easy Company, and he's known for his resilience and great leadership. That's all I really know about him. He's just a normal military dude. I actually was more excited for this film when it was announced that Luca Guadagnino would be directing and Colin Farrell would be starring in it, but since it seems that Guadagnino will no longer be helming the project, I just don't really have any level of excitement anymore. It was set to begin production in the spring of 2026, but has since been put on hold, and honestly, I'm not certain this project will ever see the light of day. It seems like WB and DC Studios are shifting more towards the core heroes of the DC universe after Superman didn't do as well as people initially thought, and I think that's a good call. I don't think many people would be rushing to the theater to see a Sergeant Rock film. If Luca Guadagnino ends up directing this still, it would shoot up my list a little bit, but even still, the idea of this character getting his own movie doesn't really excite me, which is why I have this project down at number 19. Next up at 18, we have Creature Commandos Season 2. So this project is rumored to come out in early 2027 at the earliest, and is the sequel season to the DCU's first ever project in Creature Commandos. And honestly, I did have a lot of fun with the first season. Pretty much every character in the show was new to me, but it was still a lot of fun to learn about each character's backstory and watch their arcs play out within the show. Rick Flag Sr. was a good lead, and characters like the Bride and G.I. Robot stood out as great characters within the show. With all that being said, I did still have some gripes with it, like how Princess Alana Rostovic was going to eliminate the future and kill off every superhero. Like, that goes completely unexplained. We saw a vision with her ruling the world as a megalomaniac and working with Gorilla Grodd, but we never got an explanation as to how or why she would do this. I do think overall it was a pretty good show, but it's not really something I'm over the moon excited about in terms of getting a second season. I am curious to learn more about the Salvation arc from Peacemaker Season 2, and maybe now that they know the first season worked, they'll go with bigger antagonists or ties to the DCU with the second season. But until then, I'm just not all that excited for Creature Commandos Season 2. I'd give it like a 4 or a 5 out of 10 on the excitement scale. Then at number 17, I have another animated series with Blue Beetle. So Blue Beetle was announced as a sequel animated series to the Blue Beetle film in 2023. The series was confirmed in June of 2024 to be developed, but since then we've had no updates. This is one of many projects that we have no idea as to what the show will be about, nor when it will be released. It's really hard to rank these projects because we know nothing about the creative team or the plot, so I kind of just have to rank it based on how much I'd be excited about the character alone. I do like Blue Beetle. I thought the 2023 film was fun and probably the best out of the 4 DC movies that released that year, and I think Zolomir Duenya is a great casting for the role of Blue Beetle. Like I said, it's just one of those projects I don't know much of anything about, so it's kind of hard for me to justify ranking it super high. I'm gonna regret that later on in this list because I do have more more unknown projects a lot higher than this one. But Blue Beetle is a character I've never been too familiar with outside of cartoons like The Brave and the Bold, as well as the movie. I also think it's an interesting choice to have both a Booster Gold show and a Blue Beetle show in development, considering the two characters are almost always directly tied in with one another. I think it's likely we'll see each character show up in each other's respective shows, and I think it would be really cool to see the introduction of Ted Kord in one or the other. Regardless, I am excited at the idea of a Blue Beetle show. I just have it lower on the list because there's quite a few projects I'm more excited for. I am a big DC fan after all, so there's very few on this list I'm not looking forward to at least checking out. I'd also say from this point forward, including Blue Beetle, the rest of these projects I am at least semi-excited to see. Like a Blue Beetle show, that does get me excited. I am excited to see a Blue Beetle show, whereas Creature Commandos, Sergeant Rock, Jurassic League, those are projects I could probably go without. I'm still gonna see them, but I'd say Blue Beetle onward, I will definitely be excited for every release. Again, I'm a DC fan, so that's kind of just how it goes. I'm gonna be excited for just about everything that comes out, whether that's blind optimism or not. Then at number 16, we have another show we know virtually nothing about, and that is Paradise Lost. So Paradise Lost is set to be a prequel show to the events of Wonder Woman's birth. It's supposed to be a Game of Thrones-esque show that chronicles the history of Themyscira, and was one of the first DCU projects announced over 3 years ago in 2023. We have heard virtually nothing about this show since it was announced. It seemed like this was going to be the DCU transitional Wonder Woman project while we waited for a Wonder Woman movie to hit development, but now it seems a Wonder Woman movie is in active development anyway, so I have questions on if this show will ever come out in the first place. Regardless, I am a big fan of Game of Thrones, at least the first 4 seasons, and I think a DC Universe-based Game of Thrones-like show involving Amazons is an awesome idea in concept. Unfortunately, because we know so little, and also because I think this is quite an out there choice for a DCU project, I have this towards the bottom of the list. This does have potential to be a really good show though. I'm thinking like an HBO original, Game of Thrones-esque Amazon show. Like that has the potential to be one of the best DCU projects in my opinion. But we'll see. We don't have a release date for it, and I don't even know if there's a creative team that's been announced for this, so we'll see what happens. Next up at number 15, I have the Amanda Waller TV series. So when this show was first announced, it was described as Peacemaker Season 1.5, and that many of the characters from Peacemaker Season 1 would be returning to reprise their roles. It was said to be written by Watchmen's Crystal Henry and Doom Patrol's Jeremy Carver. This one is interesting to me because while we did get a creative team, the only updates we've had on Waller are that it's been a tough one for the creative team to land, and that some projects are moving faster than others. I'm not really sure what that means, but obviously this show isn't going to be Peacemaker Season 1.5 anymore. I do still think the character is interesting enough to have a TV show around, however. Whether they want to kick off a Project Cadmus arc, a show focused on the Justice League International, or the Salvation arc, I definitely think there is potential here, which is why I have this show ranked higher than those like Blue Beetle and Paradise Lost. And the main reason for that is Crystal Henry and Jeremy Carver being named to the creative team. I loved Doom Patrol Season 1, and I think the Watchmen show was very good and underrated. And that's a big thing for me, is the creative team. How good is the creative team? What has the creative team done? I really trust the creative team for the Waller TV show if it still happens, which is why I have it higher than shows like Blue Beetle and Paradise Lost and Creature Commandos. But again, I really have no idea if this show is ever going to come out, so as of now, I'm going to keep it at number 15. Next up on the list at number 14, we have the untitled Bane and Deathstroke movie. So this movie is set to be written by Moon Knight writer Matthew Orton and is said to focus on Bane and Deathstroke as the lead characters. That is all we know about this movie. There have been very little in terms of details aside from the writer and the characters. We still don't even know the title of this movie. I've talked about this project a few times on the channel, and I'll reiterate what I say here. I am almost certain that this will be either a Secret Six project or a Suicide Squad project. Some sort of Black Ops team full of villains that have to team up to take down a greater threat, with the leads being Bane and Deathstroke. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Moon Knight show, so while I do love the characters of Bane and Deathstroke, like a lot, like those two characters are the reason this is ranked as high as it is, and I do think a movie with them could be really cool, I'm just not all that excited with Matthew Orton being the writer. I don't think Moon Knight was a bad show by any means, I was just kind of meh on it, but especially after those first 3 episodes, I was pretty disappointed. I thought the first 3 episodes of Moon Knight were pretty good, and then it ended just very MCU-esque. So that's part of the reason I don't have it higher on this list, but I do still think there's potential here. I think they need to go with an R rating for this movie, whatever it ends up being. But yeah, Bane and Deathstroke, the movie, is down at number 14. Next up at number 13, we have an animated project that we're not sure whether it's a DCU project or not, and that is the Dynamic Duo movie. So the movie is set to be produced by Swaybox, who is known for their very unique animation style that involved various forms of animation, including puppeteering. The movie is set to be developed using computer animation, stop motion, and puppeteering, and we also allegedly have our first look at the pair here. Now, I would be more excited for this, but there are a few reasons I'm not as excited. For one, it seems that the two Robins are going to be Robins at the same time, at least from what I can tell. That doesn't make sense to me. Dick Grayson has always been a big brother figure to Jason Todd in my eyes, so I think that's a bit strange. I've never thought of them as both being Robins at the same time. With that being said, I'm by no means checked out on this movie. I think this could be a really cool story and have a Legend of the Guardians-esque story about brothers, with one of them taking the path of good and one of them taking the path of darkness. The film is set to release on June 30th, 2028, so we still have plenty of time before we have any more plot details regarding the cast, universe, trailers, and more. So like most other projects on this list, it's kind of hard for me to justify where I rank it other than how I feel about the characters themselves. I do think it's very interesting that the animation style is going to be so diverse. That does get me more excited for it. It sounds like it's going to be a very different kind of movie than what we're used to seeing with animation. So I am excited to see what Swaybox is able to cook up here. And yeah, that's why I have Dynamic Duo slated at number 13. Next, coming in at number 12, I have the Booster Gold TV show. So this is another DCU project we know virtually nothing about. It was announced as one of the initial projects by James Gunn in January of 2023, but has been very quiet since. Our last update came in July of 2025 when Our Flags Mean Death creator David Jenkins was announced to write the pilot and potentially run the show. There was also a rumor that Kumail Nanjiani was set to play Booster Gold, but those rumors have since cooled off quite a bit. Gunn said in the initial announcement that Booster Gold would use basic technology from the future to pretend to be a superhero in the present day, which is pretty standard for the character. He's a time traveler who goes back in time to become a superhero for the glory, but then as he grows as a hero, he learns to actually become a hero for good. I do love the character of Booster Gold, but it's kind of hard for me to rank this show because we know so little about it. I think a Booster Gold show could be really cool, so I hope it stays in production. At this point, honestly, I wonder what DCU projects will come out with Man of Tomorrow in 2027, because as of now, it's the only one that's actively moving towards a 2027 release. This was one I honestly was thinking would come out sooner, but it did lose its original showrunner, so I can imagine how this would be hard to develop. Next up, coming in at number 11, we have a movie that I'm honestly not sure we will ever see come out, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because there's no official word on if it's canceled or not, and that is the Authority movie. So the Authority are a team of superpowered individuals that come from the Wildstorm universe. They weren't originally DC characters and were created to sort of mirror the Justice League but without the moral restrictions. These guys fight very evil threats and they deal with them how they feel like they need to deal with them. Usually they're extremely violent, and a lot of people have compared them to a team similar to what we see from the Boys universe. I think it's a bit of a lazy comparison, but in terms of the violence, it's definitely comparable. They're full of characters that the general public doesn't know very well. Characters like Apollo, Midnighter, the Doctor, the Engineer, and Jenny Sparks are all fun in their own right. For example, Apollo and Midnighter are the Batman and Superman analog characters of the team, with Midnighter possessing superhuman strength, speed, and the ability to predict his opponent's moves before they make them. He also possesses a superhuman healing factor, and in a way I'd say he's like a Batman, Wolverine, Taskmaster hybrid of sorts. Apollo is his husband, and he's like the brute force of the team, getting his power from the sun and acting as a sort of Superman. I bought both volumes of The Authority just after the DCU announcement, and it was one of the best new reads I've had in a long time. I love The Authority, and I hope at some point they get their love in the DCU. We already saw the Engineer in the Superman movie, and she is a regular on the Authority team. I think rather than a live-action movie, they should change The Authority to an animated TV series. It would save them so much money in comparison, and people have been responding really well to animated superhero shows like Invincible and Creature Commandos. I also think The Authority in general is just perfect for adult animation. Do I think this will ever get made? Honestly, I'm leaning towards no, but because I'm such a big fan of the team, I'm still gonna rank it because we still have no word on if it's officially canceled or not. But yeah, for now, I have The Authority at number 11. Now, onto the top 10. Starting with number 10, we have Supergirl. So Supergirl was also one of the first projects announced in the initial slate announcement by James Gunn. It was set to be based on Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King, and was going to be a galactic space adventure focusing on Kara Zor-El as she helped a young girl get revenge on someone who took something from her. This movie is set to release in just a couple of months as of me writing this video, and there is an official trailer out online. It's directed by Craig Gillespie and written by Anna Nogueira. I do really like the direction they're going with Supergirl's character in this movie, being that she's not just a woman version of Superman. She's a lot more jaded in that she watched her planet die and lived on a floating rock remnant of what she once had. She's not a Boy Scout, she's much more reckless, and a lot of people find her relatable in this way. With that being said, the trailers haven't gotten me all that excited about this movie. movie. One thing I loved about the original comic was the visuals and artwork. The planets they explore in this book are very colorful and sci-fi-esque, whereas in the trailer, there's nothing that's really that visually appealing. Regardless, the story they're basing the movie off of is very good. It's a sci-fi western which I think could translate really well to a superhero movie, and I think Millie Alcock is a very good choice for Supergirl, so I'm excited to see her in the role. Oh yeah, and Jason Momoa as Lobo. If that isn't the most perfect casting in the DCU, I don't know what is. He's rumored to not have a huge role in the film, but it'll be fun to see him show up nonetheless. Supergirl is a huge movie for the DCU future, and I'm excited to see when it drops in theaters June 26th of this year. Then coming in at number 9, we have the relatively freshly announced Mr. Miracle animated show. So this show is set to be written, produced, and showrun by comic book writer Tom King. This alone has made a lot of people check out entirely from the series, but I'm a big Tom King fan, so this isn't an issue to me at all. The show is set to be based off of his award-winning Mr. Miracle series from 2018, and that's a major reason why I'm so excited for it. That Mr. Miracle series is very good, and I also in general want to see more of the new gods in the DCU, so of course I'm going to be excited about this show. In that same vein, however, there was a couple of new god portrayals that I wasn't the biggest fan of in the book. Particularly, Orion just seemed like kind of an angry meathead. It's a minor gripe I have, but in general, I thought the series was very good. It's also been confirmed that other new gods like Darkseid will appear, and that's exciting news. Darkseid is obviously a major threat within the DC universe, but he's also very tied in with Mr. Miracle and Big Barda as well. The one thing that makes me a bit nervous is that Tom King is running the show. I could be wrong, but I think this is the first time he's produced a show before, so hopefully his transition from comic book writing to show running is seamless, but they are two very different things. In general though, I love the new gods, I love the character of Mr. Miracle, and I'm a big fan of Tom King and his take on the character, so this is a project that gets me very excited. Next up at number 8, we have another 2026 film set to release in October, and that is Mike Flanagan's body horror Clayface movie. So this movie was pitched to James Gunn by Mike Flanagan, and is heavily based off of the Clayface episodes of Batman the Animated Series. Now, there are very few things that would get me as excited as I am for a Clayface movie, but Mike Flanagan is a horror creator that I am a huge fan of, and I cannot wait to see what he's cooked up for this Clayface movie. Mike Flanagan has made so many great horror projects: Haunting of Hill House, Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, Oculus, Hush, Doctor Sleep, all great horror projects, and now he's doing a DC body horror movie about Clayface. The dude does not miss, and I'm almost certain this movie is going to be very good. The movie is set to star Tom Rhys-Harris as Matt Hagen or Clayface, and will be directed by James Watkins. The movie will presumably follow actor Matt Hagen after his face is disfigured, where he then turns to a scientist to fix his appearance and is subsequently turned into clay. I don't think this will be some world-ending event in the DCU by any means, but I think it's cool that we can have one-off stories in this universe, and from what I can tell, this is the exact kind of story that is perfect for this. I believe in Mike Flanagan, and I really think this movie could be special, which is why I have it at number 8. Next up on the list at number 7, we have the Teen Titans film. So this movie has been confirmed to be in development for a while, with Supergirl screenwriter Anna Nogueira set to write the script. We don't know anything more about the film other than it's in development, and that Anna Nogueira has taken a break from writing it to write the Wonder Woman film instead. So obviously, it's hard to justify why I've ranked it here, because we know literally nothing about the film. We don't know what characters would be in it, who the villain would be, nothing. So why do I have it so high? Well, simply because it's the Teen Titans. Of course I'm going to be excited about the movie. The only live action treatment this team has gotten was the Titans show, which ran for 4 seasons, and I think I speak for most people when I say I don't want that to be the only live action interpretation of the team. I think a Teen Titans movie would be the perfect chance to show off Dick Grayson as a lead character. Nightwing is a born leader, and seeing him as the main character of a Teen Titans movie would be so awesome. I would love to see him in his own Nightwing movie, but if we're not going that route, a Titans movie would work as well. You could really showcase how Nightwing works better in some ways than Bruce does, especially when it comes to human connection. As for the overall lineup, I'd like to see Nightwing, Starfire, Beast Boy, Raven, Kid Flash, Aqualad, and Arsenal. I'm not sure how likely that is, given we'll be seeing Damian Wayne as Robin in the Brave and the Bold movie. Ultimately, my hype for this movie does fluctuate based on what characters will be in it, but it's still a Teen Titans movie at the end of the day. I will say that my excitement level would go down for this movie a lot if they ended up going with the Rebirth era Teen Titans. Next up, being just outside the top 5, we have our first DCU Batman movie, The Brave and the Bold. So this movie was announced back in January of 2023 and was set to follow Batman and his son Damian Wayne. The movie was confirmed to be directed by Andy Muschietti and just recently was confirmed to be written by Christina Hodson, so both the same writer and director of the Flash movie. The creative team is the only reason I'm not more excited for this film. I have for a very long time wanted a less grounded take on Batman, and while I will talk about Matt Reeves' Batman later on this list, I've always wanted to see a more campy Batman with a Robin taking on fantastical villains. This film is set to be based off of Grant Morrison's Batman run, where Damian Wayne shows up at Bruce Wayne's door and reveals to him that he's his son. From there, Bruce must figure out how to be a father and eventually train him to become Robin. Honestly, I don't love the choice of Damian Wayne starting the DCU off as Robin. I would have preferred we start with Tim Drake or even Dick Grayson, because then we could watch the Bat family evolve and grow in the DCU, but instead it seems we're going to be joining a very well-established Bat family at this point. Gunn himself even confirmed that other Bat family members would be featured in this movie. I know it sounds like I'm complaining a lot about this movie, but at the end of the day, it gets a spot on this list because it is a Batman movie. I'm really excited to see Batman with Robin on the big screen again, and while I wasn't the biggest fan of the Flash movie, I'm willing to give the creative team another chance. I also think the Batman scenes in the Flash were pretty awesome, so I guess there's that as well. Now we've made it into the top 5, and all of these projects are projects I'm really looking forward to. So starting off the top 5 most anticipated upcoming DC projects, we have Wonder Woman. This movie was confirmed to be in development not long after the Superman movie was released. I feel like a broken record saying this at this point, but not much is known about this movie as of right now. The writing process began not too long ago as Anna Nogueira was announced as the writer, pivoting from the Teen Titans to this project. There are a couple reasons why I'm excited for a new Wonder Woman project. For one, I wasn't the biggest fan of the last Wonder Woman interpretation. On top of that, I made a how I would do a DCU Wonder Woman saga video last year, and the amount of great Wonder Woman stories I read really got me excited for a new film. There's so many directions they could go for a new Wonder Woman movie. They could do The Circle, Paradise Lost, War of the Gods, pull from the Brian Azzarello run. There's so many options. On top of that, in general, Wonder Woman is one of my favorite DC characters. Anything Wonder Woman related is going to get me excited, and she's one of the pillars of the DC universe, so I'm glad we actually have a movie announced. I'd say we're probably still 2-3 years away from this movie, but when it comes out, I'll definitely be there opening night. Next up, at number 4 on this list, we have the sequel to Superman 2025, and that is Man of Tomorrow. So Man of Tomorrow is the direct follow-up to the Superman film that came out last year. It is set to be a team-up film between Lex Luthor and Superman as they battle it out with perhaps Superman's second most iconic villain, Brainiac. And right off the bat, I think it makes a ton of sense that these two would team up to take on Brainiac. Not only do you have Superman, who obviously will protect the planet at any cost from any extraterrestrial threat like Brainiac, but you have Lex Luthor, who is out to perhaps lighten his sentence, but also trying to prove that he's still the smartest man or being in the universe. I feel like Lex would take it personally that there could be someone as smart or potentially smarter than him, and as a result would team up with Superman to take him down. We do know that Brainiac in this movie will be played by Lars Eidinger, and more details are coming out about this movie every so often. We also know that Aaron Pierre will be in this movie as Jon Stewart. He'll be reprising his role from the Green Lantern show, and hopefully we get a better costume than what we got in the Lanterns trailer. So obviously, I was a pretty big fan of the Superman movie. Not only did I love David Cornsweet's performance as Superman, but I also really loved Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. I felt like he got a little bit cliche bad guy-ish at times, but for the most part, I think he did a great job. I also think seeing the dynamic of these two teaming up will be a ton of fun after seeing what they went through for the first movie. I'm also just excited to see Brainiac in a live-action movie against Superman finally. It has been a long time coming for this to happen, and I truly can't wait to see what James Gunn does with him. All in all, I think this movie will be huge for the future of the DCU, both in-universe and with whether or not it will continue. If this movie doesn't do well box office-wise, it becomes increasingly difficult to justify the rest of the projects on this list. Like, how can you justify putting a Swamp Thing movie into development if your Superman movie doesn't even perform well? Regardless, I'm still really excited for it, and I hope with all my heart that it ends up being good, because the future of the DCU probably depends on it. Next up at number 3 on this list, we have a show that is set to come out this year in August, and that is the Green Lantern television series. So the Lantern series is set to follow Lantern legend Hal Jordan and Lantern newcomer Jon Stewart as they work together to solve a mystery in the American heartland. We know that Kelly MacDonald will be playing a love interest to Hal Jordan, as well as the sheriff of the town this murder takes place in. And we also know that Garrett Dillahunt will be playing a man by the name of William McCann, who is rumored to be the main antagonist of the show. James Gunn has also stated that the mystery they uncover in the show will be a reveal towards the overall threat of the first chapter of the DCU. Now, in my opinion, this overall threat to Chapter 1 is one of two options. It's either the Black Lanterns, with the character of William McCann serving as the adaptation of William Hand from the comic books, or they're uncovering a mystery surrounding the Center from the New Frontier, and that will end up being the main villain. One of the reasons I'm so excited for this show is because it's Green Lantern media. All we've got for Green Lantern in live action was the one Ryan Reynolds movie that I thought was pretty terrible, but also just the way it's described. And I will say on that, I have seen your guys' comments about the Green Lantern movie. I know there are some people out there that actually love the movie, but in my opinion, it just was not a good adaptation of Green Lantern. I didn't feel like Ryan Reynolds really felt like Hal Jordan to me. And just judging from the trailer, I think that Kyle Chandler really pulls off Hal Jordan. Like, the kind of reckless energy he has in the first trailer we got really makes me think Hal Jordan. But also just the way it's described. A Lantern show in the vein of True Detective, a mature rated superhero show following Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, I honestly don't think it gets much cooler than that. As with all projects, however, there are some things about this show that do get me a bit concerned for it. For one, I always found it to be a strange decision that the space cops that are the Green Lanterns were getting reserved to an Earth-based TV show. Initially, I thought this was secretly going to be a hard-traveling heroes project where we would get Green Arrow announced as one of the main characters alongside the Lanterns. But at this point, that doesn't seem to be the case. I also don't love the fact that Hal is going to be much older than John in this show. I've always seen the two of them as very close in age, and although I've always thought of Hal to be more tenured than John, I never thought there would be a 20+ year age gap. And the last thing I'll say is that I do believe it's likely that Hal Jordan will die in this show. It pains me to say, as I am a big fan of the character, but him already being at an old age makes me feel like he'll either meet his end or become Parallax, or both. I feel like at this point, this talking point has become a Nick Hippo Comics try not to mention Hal as Parallax challenge, but I think him becoming Parallax would be much more interesting than him just dying in the show. So yeah, while I do have my things I'm nervous about, I think all in all the show has a lot of potential, and you can't be excited for something while also not being nervous about it. And I'm excited to see which direction they go in for the Lantern side of the universe. I will say that the trailer did dampen my expectations a little bit. Like, these guys aren't even in costume, and also the costume that we did see was, in my opinion, pretty terrible. I thought it was really ugly, but I'm still gonna keep my Green Lantern fan hopes up because I haven't seen the Lanterns in live action in forever, and I also think it's cool that the Green Lanterns are taking a TV MA approach. I think that's an interesting choice, and I'm excited to see how Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart play off of each other, because that was one thing that I did love about the trailer, was the chemistry between Aaron Pierre and Kyle Chandler. It seems like they're very competitive with each other, and that's one thing that definitely stood out to me and worked for me in the trailer. So I'm still very excited for this show. I'm a really big Green Lantern fan, and I can't wait to see it premiere in August. Then, coming in at number 2, we have our last DCU project and my highest ranked one, and that is the James Mangold Swamp Thing movie. So very little is known about this movie aside from the fact that it is a gothic horror movie and that it will be directed by James Mangold. Now, I know that there's very little information to go off of, but that information alone gets me very excited for this movie. For one, Swamp Thing by Alan Moore, in my opinion, is one of the best long-running DC arcs of all time. I'm just assuming the movie would be based off of this run, as it is the most iconic and is widely regarded as one of the best DC comics ever published. On top of that, James Mangold is directing, and he's a very good writer and director. He's directed movies like 3:10 to Yuma, Logan, The Wolverine, Ford v Ferrari, and Walk the Line. Particularly with Logan, the dude clearly knows how to tell a tragic superhero story, and that's exactly what Swamp Thing is. Also, I love horror, and I love superheroes, so of course I'm going to be excited about a Swamp Thing gothic horror movie. Just that premise alone sounds awesome. Unfortunately, this movie does seem like it's quite a ways off, as James Mangold is working with Disney on a Star Wars Dawn of the Jedi movie, and even then it seems like it's halted production, so who really knows whether or not we'll ever get to see James Mangold's Swamp Thing movie in the first place. But until it's canceled, this is going to be my most anticipated DCU project. The creative team being as good as it is behind one of my favorite DC characters is enough to keep me hoping. So for now, I'm going to keep Swamp Thing at number 2. Then, coming in at number 1, this was actually a no-brainer for me, like it wasn't even close. It was the first project I ranked on this list, and that is the Matt Reeves Batman sequel, The Batman Part 2. So this movie has been a very long time coming. The first film came out in the spring of 2022, and we won't be seeing its sequel until 5.5 years later in the fall of 2027. We're a little over a year and a half away from the film at this point, and we still don't know much about it. Now, there's quite a few reasons why I'm so excited for this film. For one, Matt Reeves has become one of my favorite creators in Hollywood, period. His Planet of the Apes movies were a huge part of my childhood, and to this day I think Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is one of my favorite movies. Obviously, I love the Batman as well, and I can't wait to see Bruce's evolution in Part 2. We also do know a good amount of the cast for this movie. Obviously, both Robert Pattinson and Jeffrey Wright will be returning in their respective roles as Batman and Jim Gordon. However, we have gotten some more updates as well. The first of which is that Sebastian Stan will be joining the cast, and there's a 99% chance he'll be playing the new DA in Gotham City, Harvey Dent. I absolutely love the casting for this movie. I love Sebastian Stan in the MCU as Bucky, and I think he just has the looks and acting chops to pull off Harvey Dent so well. I honestly wonder if we'll see him turn into Two-Face in this movie, or if that will happen in Part 3. We also have heard that Scarlett Johansson is reportedly in talks to join the movie as well. I don't believe it's been confirmed yet, but that would be really fun to see. I have some ideas on who she might play. I've heard some people say Poison Ivy, but I lean more towards Phantasm or the wife of Harvey Dent. Reeves himself said that the villain in this film would be something we haven't seen done before, so I do lean towards the main villain of this movie being either Phantasm or Hush. Preferably not Hush though, because I think he's kind of overrated. I'm kind of rambling at this point, but speaking of other villains, there's been rumors that Barry Keoghan's Joker will have a larger role in the sequel to The Batman, so that's cool, I guess. I'm kind of at the point where I want to see something other than Joker, but any which way Matt Reeves goes, I will trust because he's completely proven himself so far. All in all though, I'm very excited because this is the sequel to what, in my opinion, is the greatest comic book movie of the decade, and I've waited so long to see the sequel at this point. I'll probably go to see this movie multiple times when it comes out, and at this point, I'm truly just counting down the days. With that being said, guys, that is my ranking of every upcoming DC project. I know I missed a couple, like the Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman movie, the Keanu Reeves Constantine sequel. Those are just movies that I don't really know how to rank because I'm not even sure if they're gonna come out. And that honestly goes for a lot of this list. With Warner Brothers being bought out by Paramount, there are a lot of projects that I'm not sure will ever see the light of day. I did want to get this video out because I think it's fun to talk about this kind of stuff, but let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that most of these projects will see the light of day? Which ones do you think are gonna get canceled? Which ones are you the most excited for? And yeah, that is all I have for you in this one. I will see you guys in the next one.